I've been going with my heart so much this season, and I'm going with Rhett because he is the closest person in my heart.
Oh, wow.
Love the guy. And I think he's an overall just fantastic player. He's going to take it over Alicia.
Well, I'm going to pick Alicia because people have forgotten about him. We talk about underdogs. I mean, yes, Alicia's a Korean player. Yes, he's on Team Slayers. And yes, he looks like a frightened squirrel that's about to get run over by a monster truck, the bitter truck, whenever he plays StarCraft. I mean, even if you look at the pictures from MLG, typical Alicia, man. He just has his eyes wide open as he plays. But I think people just, when they list Korean Protosses, you know, MC, Genius, Parting, Squirtle. I mean, if you want to consider Hawk Nanny while throwing into Korea, and it's like, where does Alicia fit in the picture? He used to be the specialist from Slayers. I'm going to pick Alicia because he's been doing pretty well in NASL thus far.
Would you consider him the favored going into this match?
That's tough because Rhett says that he struggles in, you know, late game ZVP. That's why he went to the Red Bull LAN like a while ago, and he worked on that. He ended up winning the entire tournament, beating players like Sasa and going all the way, beating Parting as well. And Rhett, the only time he's ever played Protoss, I think, in our division was against Cruncher too. So I think Rhett is... It's hard to say. I'm going to say Rhett's going to be the one favored, but Alicia's the one that's statistically favored. He just has a higher win percentage rate against foreigners.
Interesting. I'm not sure. I think they're actually pretty evenly matched. But we'll see in a little bit. Now, we do have a Nexus first. This is a very bold move to do.
On dual site.
On dual site of all maps. But it's a Nexus first and then Forge Fast expansion. Because he's gone for a Nexus first, he actually has to cut probes for quite a long time. I would actually say that he can't make... Wow, weird Forge positioning. But he can't make too many more, what's it called, probes after this. He has to stay on 16 for quite a long time. That's the punishment you get for going Nexus first. And I would actually say Forge first is a much more cost-efficient and... Oh, okay, Gateway. It's a much more cost-efficient and... more economic build than a Nexus first on this map in particular, just because you have to defend so hard against any potential pushes.
Well, last time we saw an attempt to do this, you know, we've seen players that when they can't necessarily defend this area as much. Remember when like Noni played against Crazy Movin' and like Crazy Movin' just surrounded him with lanes. Of course, that was a different build altogether. But the idea is dual site is very hard to protect the southern part of your expansion. There's just lots of room for Zerglings to wiggle in there. Now, what's interesting is that Alicia is going for 2 gateways really quickly initially on to block the Zerglings from being able to get the surround on the cannons. Now, the cannon has enough range to protect the entire Nexus, which is important, but still not enough to protect the entire mineral line. So Rhett's still going to be able to roam this area, and Alicia has to place another cannon, which makes it so difficult on dual site.
Yeah. And as you can see, I really feel like Nexus first, you don't get anything from it. There's so much damage incurred here. Look, he hasn't been able to double assimilator as well, so this super fast cybernetics core really isn't going to do anything for him. Yes, he can get a really fast warp gate out, or maybe a really fast +1 forge. I wouldn't even say he can get a really fast +1 attack. So really, he's relegated to warp gate at this point, and it's super obvious, I think. So, I mean, I don't think Alicia has a lot of options from here. Rhett should be able to defend a lot of different pushes just because of how far behind Alicia's economy is.
It's going to be tough for Alicia to really defend any kind of super speedling attack if it came. But of course, we see the 3 hatches from Rhett. And Rhett, what is Rhett's style? We see a music video after Rhett's style. Loves his drones. And in fact, I think one of the best sentence that ever described Rhett is, if he ever dies, it's because he made too many drones. So I think Alicia understands that. At least Rhett has a pretty good reputation, especially in Korea. When he was playing in GSL Code A, a lot of people knew that about him, and that's what they specifically targeted about his style.
Of course, he's one of the greediest players, but he does it with good assumptions and I think good scouting.
He's a good reader as well.
Yeah, he knows exactly what his opponent is capable of, and that comes with experience, and that's actually really hard to understand and learn. That's a constant thought process of what is my opponent capable of, and then having the experimental data to actually back that up. So it's really cool that Red is able to perform this style. Again, Zergling's getting in here. And I think they'll be able to take out the Zealot, at least.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, the force field there was kind of cute there, but not really necessary there from Alicia. Doesn't have to waste a couple of them. Now, Red has everything else lining up pretty nicely. He's got a good drone count incoming, and he's getting his Roach Warren and his Evo Chamber. No doubt is in prime position to just max off Roaches really quickly if he so desires. And Alicia, let's see what he is up to, getting 6 gates now. And the Overlord did catch sight of some of those gates, as a few more being added, total of 7.
And I want to mention really quickly, Red, I think, is in a fantastic position to actually intercept this. The Evolution Chamber is actually a really, really good thing for him. This +1 missile attack lets him defend against everything so much easier. And no, he won't have that for the first push, but, you know, consistently defending against everything, he'll have it. And that's what's so important. And not only that, he knows just from the beginning and setting those 4 Zerglings and knowing it was a Nexus first, his opponent really doesn't have a lot of capabilities of getting a super fast, let's say, Stargate play or whatever it might be. A lot of it's weakened, and he saw sentries early in the game, so he knows exactly where his opponent's gas is allocated. This is a very obvious warp gate pressure. And Red, I mean, you can see in the production tab, he is preparing for it. Whether or not it is enough, he went all the way 67 harvesters over 47. So I don't know if this is enough or he has enough time. It's going to obviously depend on Alicia and if he actually pulls the trigger early enough. But Red is definitely cutting it close, but reading his opponent fairly well.
Red moving out with his Roaches really early on, but Alicia has to be really careful not to lose these sentries, but he's microing them back and making sure not to lose any of them. And a sentry does drop, but more Roaches are being caught out of position. Alicia has to pull back the sentries immediately. You can see Red really want to finish them off. But all of a sudden, this push is looking a little bit stronger, although a lot of force field energy was burned. So still anything could happen, depends on positioning. Now, this is a great spot for Alicia to hang around as long as he can capitalize on the fact that Roaches don't have to get in there. But he actually sections the Roaches in. And this is still a lot of units. Red forced to pull his drones, and he's going to force field them out. Alicia reinforcing with more Stalkers. And keep in mind, he does have +1, giving him a huge advantage in terms of upgrades. And oh no, Red supply is dropping, and drones are still getting into battle. And with Alicia's constant warp-ins, 12 Roaches are in production. And regardless of what happens, Red has lost a lot in economy.
Oh yes, and it's unfortunate. I know what Red was trying to do. He's trying to burn as many force fields as possible before, you know, the constant stream of units gets in here. But you know, it's going to be tough for Red to actually stop this. His third will be given up here. No, he's going to actually try to defend this. I'm not sure if this is the best, but +1 is finished now for Red, so the Roaches deal slightly more damage, as well as Metabolic Boost being finished here. But I don't think it's enough, Frodan. I think he needs to back up from here, seeing as he only has 2 hatcheries to defend this.
He really needs to back up at this point. Red has too much damage on his Roaches. He needs time to really max up a huge amount of them. And trying to defend this third is a valiant effort indeed, but it's just way too much. The Stalker count is increasing and increasing and making it too hard. GG. Slayers Alicia takes game number 1 on dual sight, as Red droned very well, but made a little too much and got his Roaches sectioned off more and more. And it didn't matter the fact that Alicia didn't have sentry energy. He just had too much units.
That was kind of a shame. I think he overdroned, obviously, 67 drones. On a map like dual sight, and you even see your opponent going exactly that. I mean, he had all the indications, I think, to know that it was Warp Gate. But I know, you know, when you're in the game, you still think, well, my opponent is still capable of delayed Dark Templars, you know, Warp Prison play, Stargate play. Actually, Stargate Warp Prison play has definitely shown itself a lot on that map. So I think maybe he's thinking about that as well. But 67 drones seems really excessive to then start pumping. You can't actually produce off of 67 drones until you get your 4th hatchery. So that's why I'm really confused why he went so high into that.
I think I know why, because when Rhett scouted with his Overlord, he saw 3 additional gates. And so he sees, well, maybe it's 4 gate Zealot pressure, so he only made like 8 roaches initially, and then he saw the sentry count with his Overlords, and then he's like, okay, well, this is a huge push. And I think when you see the 4 gates compared to when you know, because sometimes it's 4 gate Robo, and then Protoss tries to get their 3rd with a lot of Immortal Sentry. And so I think Rhett maybe read it as that because he didn't see the 3 additional gateways that was being built elsewhere. So
yeah, that could definitely be it. I would actually love to go into that a little bit more and see what Rhett saw, and you know, that's actually a great way to try to learn. Go into the loser's player, the loser player's view, and try to really see, based on the information that he saw already, whether or not he could have stopped that. But
it's in the past, and Rhett's gonna have to move on. We'll see if he's able to take game number 2 against Alicia after this break. But before we do that, we want to thank Epson for providing the projectors here for NASL Season 3. Don't go anywhere, guys. More action between Alicia versus Rhett is coming up right after this.